We're here today to explain our side of the story, the player side, which is something that the community and people have been asking for quite some time now. And we have been really wanting to explain this to everyone because we believe that there's a side that hasn't been told yet. And our names have been cleared by ESSEC, who has been investigating this. We have been in contact with them for quite some time and given them all our explanations and all the evidence that we have in our case. The plan of communicating this in a slower process and being in direct contact with ESSEC all the time instead of the media is also because Hunten changed his story about 4 or 5 times. Who knew, if the players knew or not, and how they knew and stuff like this. So obviously it's quite difficult to respond to someone who is coming with 3, 4, 5 different claims. He's saying that he wants the truth out, but if he was so interested in the truth, why did he not say what he believes is the truth directly? Hunten had quite a big status in the Danish scene before joining Heroic.
He was like kind of the godfather of Danish CS. Like he was the guy that everyone was talking about. The future for Danish CS, this is the guy developing all the talents. This is the guy you want to go to if you want to become something big.
There was no doubt that he had a senior role in the team as someone that would be able to have the father figure in the team.
I think everyone wanted to prove ourselves to him because he's a well-known face in Danish CS and has a lot of influence on everyone.
He had played the game professionally for 10, 11 years and never cheated. Why would he all of a sudden use a cheat or a bug? Why would we ever think that he would want to use it? It makes no sense to use it. It's stupid. When the bug was used against Astralis, Hunten had only been in the team for 3 weeks, so everything was really new. And this also meant that for us there was no alarm bells ringing or anything because the communication that was given throughout the game was completely normal.
I didn't remember any suspicious thing or anything. It was just an ordinary match where Katie spoke a lot and yeah, Katie and Martin did a lot of plans. It's basically just a normal match if you ask me. There's nothing suspicious from my side.
There was at no time where I thought, why would he be saying this or why would he be calling this? There was no communication that indicated that he had a specific position or anything on the map. I didn't feel like any cheat had occurred. I also have a video recording of my game from like a laptop recording behind. At this time, players like Colstera and Stico was uploading a lot of YouTube POVs, and I wanted to do the same. So there's an entire footage of me, which only includes my own communication, but I've listened to it thousands of times to try and listen if there's anything which could point at any direction. I think also it's important to emphasize that this happened at the very start of the COVID pandemic, so everyone was playing from home, which also meant that we obviously couldn't see Hunten's screen. So I think that's a big part of this story as well, that this would never have been able to be happening at a boot camp because the players would have said no. They would have looked at the screen and said, "What are you doing?" A lot of people in the community have also been asking, just reveal the TeamSpeak, give us the TeamSpeak recording. And there's nothing more I would love to do than to give the TeamSpeak recording, but there is none. And the reason why there is none is something that people also really need to understand. It's because we were used to traveling to LANs all the time, and obviously at LANs there's admins who is watching, who is recording the games. The coach don't even have a PC, he's just standing behind the players looking at their monitors. So there was no admin in TeamSpeak, and there was no one recording the TeamSpeak because it was not a demand. It was not something that people did at this time. I would really wish that there was a TeamSpeak recording because I would have loved to publish it, and then people could have judged themselves, and I'm 100% confident that they would believe our case. After the Astralis game, we had lost, and I did an interview with TV2, and then I started watching the first map and tried to look for mistakes. And Tessis and Borup had left TeamSpeak. It was just down, me, Nico, and Hunten left. And I think maybe after an hour, 1.5 hours or something, Nico was telling me and Martin that the bug had been used. Hunten used the bug.
We first off thought it was like a joke. It was a few hours after the game, we had just lost it, and Nico started saying that Hunten has used this coach bug.
Nico as a person is someone who likes to joke a lot, and maybe he doesn't always find the limit. I think he can sometimes have a hard time finding out what is the consequence of taking a joke or doing something too far.
But he kept saying it, and we were like, "Are you serious? Are you serious, Nico?" And Hunten was on TeamSpeak as well.
We were very shocked, and we really gave our opinion about this subject and said that there was under no circumstances that this bug should be used, and how stupid it was.
Why would you do this? It's so far away from me and what I stand for that one would ever use an advantage to cheat in a competitive game. Never.
I even remember Martin saying it was so lucky that we lost this game, because he would have felt so fucking pathetic if we would have won with using a cheat.
Also because it was a really important match against Astralis, our rivalry in Denmark. If we had won a match using cheat, it would have really felt horrible. But yeah, that was what happened.
When we told him that this bug should under no circumstances be used in a game again, we trusted that he would not do so. And that's also why it was not communicated to Borup and Tessis that the bug had been used, which, looking back at it, we should have, and we should probably have had a team meeting and said, what the fuck is going on here?
I felt me and Kasper really made it clear to them that no, this is not good. You can't do this again. And I felt confident that he took it to him, and this would never happen again.
The preparation for the game against Spirit was just like any other game. We looked at the opponent, we prepared, we talked the game plan through. And again in this game, the communication from Hunten was not suspicious. There was nothing which surprised me. If we had used the information that he had, if that would be communicated directly to us in cooperation with us, we would have played the game differently. I remember a round where I make the most stupid call to go out and try and chase a guy because I think he's alone. And there's 4 people standing there. And Hunten can see this, but it's not being communicated to me. So I make an awful decision, and we lose the round clean on that versus Pistols. Super stupid. I think Hunten and Nico's relationship was quite close, because that they knew each other from playing together in a previous team of Tricked. And I even remember at a time in the team, pretty early on, Hunten was offering or saying that he thinks that Nico should move in with him, because he knew that Nico had a hard time living up where he was living in the northern part of Jutland, and he wanted to have him close so he could be focusing on playing. I don't know for a fact how much he has known. I know that he was the one who told us that Hunten had used the bug, so he had this information before us. They also said that they had been texting through Steam about this in the game. That's the only way that he could have been involved in the cheating, if he had gotten information through the Steam chat. I think the entire situation with him is quite difficult to understand. But for me personally, I find all the responsibility to be on the adult, on the coach, on the person that you as a player should look up to and should trust in his decision making. So for me, he's not to blame in the same way that Hunten is. There's only one guy who can enter this bug and who can use this bug, and this is the coach. I heard the phone call, which has been provided as part of evidence in this case. And I have to say that it actually makes me a bit sick to my stomach to hear that Nico is being manipulated in such a way by someone that he, at least at the time before this call, still trusted. I don't believe he does anymore, because the ways that Hunten tried to pull words out of his mouth is something that I find so disrespectful, that you can try and manipulate someone into saying stuff like this. I think it's been very difficult to be accused for these things, because it's obviously been very, very serious. And I think especially it's been difficult to see I think it's been very difficult to see the young players being accused of something that they haven't done, and seeing just knowing that they're innocent and knowing the pressure that they have received as well from the community. I mean, I have a bit more experience under my belt and maybe used to a shitstorm or people talking a lot. But it's been difficult not to say anything when you know that you have such a strong case. And I'm just proud that they've handled it like this and that they're still fighting the way they are. And also that we've been able to stick together as a team through all of this. I don't see what his gain is of these false accusations. And to see that hurt someone that I'm fighting with and for every day has just been super difficult. And I'm just really proud that they have handled it in this way and still be able to practice and compete against the best teams in the world. When we won Cologne, we were obviously insanely happy. This was an insane trophy to win, especially in this period of Counter-Strike when everything was online. This was the biggest thing you could win.
Winning Cologne was biggest achievement for me back then, and it was something that we had worked a lot on.
We were so happy. I remember we had like a call in the middle of the night with everyone on the cam and just being happy, and everyone had a beer or a drink at their own places.
It was really it was such a nice feeling for me, and I remember the first thing I did was go out and hug my mom because it was such a nice feeling. It was something that we had worked really hard for. And then one could imagine that you could enjoy this victory, but we could not, because the day after we had won, we get this message in the group from Hunten saying that he's banned for using CoachBug and it's over and we have to come TeamSpeak.
That's when the joy really just turned, and when the depression started in a way, because ever since this has been like over our heads, it's been noise in the background, it's been difficult to handle and cope with. So everything changed when that happened.
And at this moment I can't really understand what's going on. Like, we just won this big tournament and now we're sitting here and he's saying that he's banned. Like, what the fuck? It was really, really weird situation. Yeah.
Se dobbelt på Steven der. Cologne winner.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like the story would necessarily end there, because I remember that everyone went onto TeamSpeak. At this time as well, Hunten had different beliefs of what have happened compared to what the rest of us did. At least Borup, Stavn, me and Tessis.
When I eventually did find out that he had cheated when he came forward with it to the rest of the boys and me, I was very disappointed, so to say. And there's a lot of anger in me as well. Mostly disappointed in the way he had acted, because I looked a lot up to him.
Then he started saying that Nico was involved in this and putting his blame on some of the players, on Nico. And that was also where it was made clear to me that René had boosted him in some game on Dust 2 against Spirit.
Boosting is just something normal you do every game and just doing for fun. You can jump on each other's head in warm-up for fun, and to me it never occurred to me something was going on that shouldn't. He told me I boosted him in that warm-up game. Nothing about his communication or anything else made me suspicious about he was in the box. So no, I didn't know he was in the box during the game. It kind of surprised me, and he really pressured me to say that because of this I was involved. But when the game started, I had no clue that he was in the box. And to me, doing that boost, I can't really remember much about it, but to me it never made me suspicious about anything. Never seemed, nothing seemed out of the ordinary for me. And back then, I was just joining the server, and then right before I was gonna leave the PC to go to the toilet and make some coffee and stuff, to do my normal routine before games, I was just about to take the headset off, and then he called on me. And after that, I didn't think too much about it afterwards, because the only focus I had in that warm-up and in the game, it was doing my absolute best to perform. It was a semi-final, and for me it was big. It was one of the first big matches for me, and I really wanted to prove myself. So of course my only focus was the performance side, and not something like a stupid boost.
He said something that he wasn't alone in this, and he started to put some blame on Nico and René as well for boosting him. But René was clearly not involved in this, and I could see this from his point of view as well, that he didn't know what was going on.
At this time I never knew Hunden used in the Astralis game, so I have never thought about him using the bug. That thing would never occur to me, because for me that's so far away from my world. I could never cheat in an actual game. For me that's absurd and totally surreal to me. So of course that never occurred to me in that game and in that warm-up, and I never knew he used it in the Astralis game as well.
For me it was just clear that Hunden was just trying to put some of the guilt and blame that he felt from doing this stupid thing onto some of the players, and on Nico and René.
I definitely feel like I have been treated immensely bad by Hunden. Hunden has fucked my whole reputation, which has worked for my whole life. And all of a sudden, the whole community is just after me for something I haven't done, and I've sacrificed so much to be where I am today. So yes, it definitely hurted, and still hurts me a lot that Hunden accuses me of something I haven't done.
There was different ways that people wanted to handle it. Obviously the ones that were innocent just wanted to be able to go out and say we were innocent.
When Hunden accused me of this, I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I've never come to a conclusion why he would betray me. And because this guy, he was a guy I trusted. He was my coach, and I thought he was my friend, but accusing me of something I haven't done is not fair at all.
I think it's part of humanity to accept that people make mistakes and give him a second chance.
I also believe in that, giving second chances. Everyone should have second chances. It was a decision that we kind of took as a team.
If I knew what I knew today, I think we would have cut ties with him immediately and stopped the relationship with him. I think the process with Isaac has been very professional. to be honest, I mean, me and the rest of the team were very happy when the investigation took place and when we figured out, because, I mean, you can ask us any questions about this matter, and we knew that we would be able to prove our innocence. And that was a key element for us, that now we didn't have anything to hide, or we didn't have any reason to not speak, because people also say, why didn't you talk sooner? Well, we've been talking with ESSEC from the beginning, and we've been able to provide them with all the answers that they needed. And that's also why the outcome of this case was the way it was. They have been asking the difficult questions, they have been investigating the matter, and the conclusion is, we're innocent.
Since I've heard all the stories about and from different point of views and their takes on it and my take on it, everything adds up, and I don't see how they could know about it. I believe their innocence as well as mine. We four did not know a single thing about it during the game. I'm very happy that ESSEC found us our innocent regarding the whole case. I think the whole situation was handled very well by ESSEC. I felt very comfortable talking with them as well. It was nice getting it off my chest. They've been very open and forward to us.
The NDA was presented to us by the organization, by the old ownership, as an option, as something we would be able to do. For me, I think I had a responsibility as the captain of the team, as the leader of the team, when I know that people in my team is innocent, to not sign an NDA saying that you can't talk about it. Because what would then happen if someone would question you or doubt you? You would not be able to speak about it. So Hunden wanted this NDA signed, but I was fighting against it, and I even remember there was some argument about it, but I was very strong in my belief that this NDA should not be signed, and that's why it wasn't. I think that since the ownership have changed, there's been a lot of positive progress in terms of how do we handle this. Not just how do we handle it to external people, like the media, ESSEC and so on, but also the communication that we are receiving inside as players. We are way more in the loop now. Now that the ESSEC investigation is done, this also means that we can talk about this topic and about the situation, so we'll be available to explain our side of the story. I mean, we've done so in this video, but obviously there will be follow-up questions from the journalists, and we're also ready to answer those. The community has asked a lot of questions, and we want to give them answers, and that's why we three are sitting here, and we'll try to do our best to do so now. I mean, this video is also our idea. It's what we want to do. It's not some kind of staged PR stunt or something that they're telling us to do. We want this story out. We want the community to understand, because I think, as you have seen earlier in this video, it's not been easy to be under this kind of pressure from co-players and co-colleagues in the industry. So we don't want our names to be framed for the rest of our lives.
Hopefully people can see our story and how we have lived through this, and can see our point of view and not just what has been told by Hunden. And I just hope that people believe us, because the only thing we can do is telling the truth, and we can only ask for people to believe in it. In all this, Hunden he feels like he is the victim.
Yes. He feels like he's the victim, and that everyone is against him. Heroic, ESSEC and the world, and that he's been treated unfairly, which is not true. I mean, he has been the one using the coach book. He's the one who shared the documents. It's his own mistake, and that's how it is. That's life. You make a mistake and you have to pay for it.
Yeah, and also for me, the important thing is also for me, like he is saying in that phone call with Nico, you and I are not the one to be banned. Come on, Hunden. What world are you living in? He doesn't want to hurt Nico or us for. That is what he says in this phone call. He doesn't want to hurt Nico or us for. But then what are you saying? Because it's not the truth. Because on media you are saying that we knew that you were cheating and in the game, but you don't want to hurt us. but you want to hurt Heroic, then like he doesn't even know what he's saying himself.
Yeah.
And I honestly I feel bad for him, and I actually feel bad for him in some way. I really feel really bad for him, and hope he gets to move on in some way.
When he leaked our strat book, he said it was sparring with other teams. Listen, mate, you don't spare with another team that is in your group for the biggest event of the year. So you lied again. And that's what he's done throughout all of this. He's lied, and he continues to do so. I mean, personally, this is a question I would have loved to answer earlier. So everyone has been like, oh, that's an own goal by Heroic to sue Hunten when he can then attack them with this evidence. But that's the entire thing. There is no evidence because we didn't know about the usage of the bug. So the new ownership, they have known the story from the beginning. I have in detail explained them how things have been ongoing, and they know of the innocence of their players. So that's why they're not scared to sue Hunten for things that he did, which was completely out of the ordinary. You don't leak your strats to an opponent. So they sued him because he did something which was against his contract and which was against the integrity. That's why Hunten got 2 years. That's why they weren't scared of suing him, because they knew that their players were innocent. Obviously, if they knew that Hunten had some material, or if that the players had known about the bug, they probably wouldn't have sued him and let him go. But that's not the story.
When the ESEC started this investigation against us, that of course it's not nice having these allegations against us, but when you know you are innocent, you can still feel at peace. And that's what we have been feeling, like now is the time. Like it's some kind of relief in some way that finally we can come out and tell our story.
I mean, the time when I realized that we had to say something was when we had this talk with the team called Empty the Backpack. And you, Martin, said that you didn't want to go out and have a night out with your brothers and your friends because he was scared that someone would come to him and say that he's a cheater. And
yeah, that's true.
I got really sad when you said that. It's just when I knew that we can't hold this back anymore. We need to talk about it and explain our side of this. I mean, he says in the phone call that Heroic can't handle another shitstorm. And that's the reason why his decision has been like this, to go to the media first instead of to ESEC. Because A, he wanted a shitstorm for Heroic and therefore also for the players. And B, because he knew that if he would go to ESEC, the decision would be that the players didn't know and there would be no drama. So that's the reason for the order. That's why you go to the media first, to create all the attention. Then the investigation starts, and obviously we are talking with the people investigating and not the media. And then people think that because you're silent, you're guilty, but that's not how the world works. You just need to be in contact with the correct people first. Like, I don't need to respond to everyone who's coming out with a false claim about me. Then I could be going on for the rest of my life. I need to talk to the people who are judging this. And they found our case to be that we're innocent.
I think the fact that so many players and analysts or whatever, experts, whatever you want to call them, it's very good to come to conclusions way too fast.
They are just buying into one story of a guy who's not only a convicted cheater, but also a convicted liar. And that, to be honest, surprised me a lot, that so many people in the community were just buying into his side of the story without having heard ours. So I think I definitely learned myself, at least, that until both sides is explained, don't tweet. Because, I mean, personally, I've lost my fair share of respect as well for some people who has just taken a completely wrong side in this.
For me, it's fair, like, to have an opinion, as long as you are not just doing a conclusion without having seen anything. So, yeah, I agree with all that.
I mean, I guess it's also hard to separate, like, professionals and analysts from regular viewers, because obviously there's also different stages to this, but too many people have said that of course the players must have known. And to me that's just really stupid to believe that of course the players must have known. What makes you believe that? I mean, you don't know how it works in a team or what the communication was like throughout the games or anything like that. I think some journalists have been doing better than others. I mean, obviously also the ones that has been speaking more of what is the truth, and they can't know that with what they have to try and gather of information, so it's difficult for them as well. Because I think it's important that you dig into a case like this. Of course, if there's rumors that some players knew about cheating, of course you need to investigate. But I think there are some journalists which have been way more critical of the evidence provided or received than others. So I think there's different nuances to this, and some have impressed me more than others.
I think also like when there's articles coming out like HLTV and stuff, like then people are just eating all of that information and just believe everything like that is told.
They take the headline and they don't even read the article.
Yeah.
And then if it says Hanten, the players knew, then they read that and they're like, okay, I don't need to read more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
Feels good.
Well, for me, there's nothing like to speculate about it anymore for other people.
Yeah, for me it's also just great relief finally being able to talk about this, and being cleared is obviously amazing, what we hope for and what I know is truth.
I think it just feels really good, and obviously it's also insanely important for the team that now we can focus on what our drive is and what our passion is, which is to play and to win games.
Of course, we have been struggling emotionally by this, but we have always stayed by each other and supporting each other all the way, and that's why we could perform at such high level.
Even though there's a lot of noise going on outside, it doesn't. I mean, it affects, but they also know what's important, and every single one on the team knows what comes first in life, and that is be the best.
I think obviously it's a big loss not to have a coach to give the outside perspective that you always need, and the preparation is probably the biggest part a coach can provide. Every single one of us has just put more hours into the game, specifically more hours into preparation for opponents.
I think all four of them also know that they have taken on more responsibilities since we've been alone, and I'm very proud of that. Like Martin said, I don't think it's been easy to have a group stage game ending at midnight and then having your captain tell you that we meet at 10 tomorrow to prepare the next game.
Like the next guy needs to fit in, like in the team chemistry, because that's what makes this team so great. Because we love to be with each other and have fun all the time, and also know when to switch back to when we need to be serious.
Yeah. We would like to thank you guys a lot for watching the video. It's been important but also difficult for us to be under all these circumstances, but we're happy that we were able to give our side to all of this, and yeah, we hope to have some of you guys' support as well in the future. The next goal for us as a team is to win a tournament on LAN, hopefully with a crowd and maybe with some confetti when we lift the trophy. I think that's definitely our main goal, because we tried to celebrate apart, we tried to celebrate at a boot camp, now it's time to do it at a LAN.